Well, the battle escalating between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz over Cruz's eligibility for president. Their fight sparking a civil war of sorts within the GOP. Joining us now from Irvine, California is conservative radio talk show host Hugh Hewitt, who is up at 3 a.m. on the West Coast. Were you checking your lottery numbers or up for us?
Well, I did make sure that the people in my law firm that bought the tickets were not in Chino last night, but I'm up. I just didn't go to bed. I'm celebrating because the Cleveland Browns hired Hugh Jackson as their new coach. I've got my orange Browns tie on. It's a new era. Chris will understand that. And I had to write down Chris's lifetime advice for Powerball winners: avoid prostitutes and cocaine. I've got that down, too. So.
Yes, his wisdom every morning is
That's for everybody,
very,
not just
very
millionaires.
Special.
That's lifetime advice right there. I'm glad I heard
say
that.
it's a bad thing, Hugh. I'll go with it.
All right, there you go. So, Hugh, I'm glad you're in good humor, no pun intended, because let's talk about this civil war that's erupting over this Ted Cruz eligibility stuff. You say Ted Cruz is clearly eligible to be president, and there are some conservatives like popular radio host Mark Levin who agrees with you. But there are others like Ann Coulter, Breitbart as well, who disagree. Ann Coulter tweeting, "The Constitution is the Constitution, and Cruz is not a, quote, natural-born citizen." She says, "Never let the kids at Kinko's do your legal research." So tell us about this.
Well, I don't let the kids
disparity.
at Kinko's do it either. The kids at Kinko's are not doing it. Ann is making stuff up. I had her on my show yesterday. She's a great radio guest, but she says provocative things to sell books. Here's the deal. Paul Clement, former Solicitor General, Neil Katyal, former Solicitor General, one a Republican who argued Hobby Lobby, the other a Democrat, as well as Andrew McCarthy of National Review, Mark Levin, John Eastman, Erwin Chemerinsky from the left, myself from the right. Every serious legal scholar who has written about this in a peer-reviewed published publication has concluded there isn't a controversy. Not from the time of the framing. Natural-born citizen means if you are born of a citizen of the country. It evolved at the time of the British Empire. It is completely uncontested except by controversialists. But I'll also add, Donald Trump is winning. He's winning in New Hampshire, and he's very close in Iowa. The new Des Moines Register poll has Ted Cruz a couple of points ahead, but Donald Trump is closing. And Donald Trump wins because he raises controversial issues, and he has very loyal followers like Ann, who then retweet his provocations, which add to his allure to that part of the Republican Party that wants combativeness. The other thing that is not contested, in my view, is that Nikki Haley hit a home run on Tuesday night.
And
I mean, a huge, towering home run.
And before we get to that, because I do want to hear your thoughts on Nikki Haley, but first, you say that every constitutional expert agrees with you. That's not so. I mean, in the Washington Post, they published this constitutional law professor from Widener University. She says Donald Trump is actually right about something. Senator Ted Cruz is not a natural-born citizen and therefore is not eligible to be president or vice president of the United States. The law is clear. The framers of the Constitution require the president to be born in the U.S., she says.
She's clearly wrong, and what I actually said is that every legal scholar in a peer-reviewed law journal, not an op-ed in the Washington Post, I'm quite certain you can find a law professor somewhere in the United States who take any position if it will get them an op-ed in the Washington Post. I mean, that's not contested. But Lawrence Tribe, the professor at Harvard, who is throwing some gas on the fire, has never written this before. By the way, he's got textbooks on con law. He's got horn books, we call them. I'm a law professor at Fowler School of Law at Chapman University, and I use the Tribe horn book, and I use the Chemerinsky textbook. And all of these lefties have never made this argument before. No one's ever made this argument. It's not an argument. Ted Cruz is eligible. Nevertheless, it's a controversy, not an argument. Controversy is very useful to Donald Trump, and he is using it to continue to advance to what looks like a victory in New Hampshire. I would not, though, at this point, want to get into an argument with Nikki Haley in South Carolina, because that's the third of the big three early contests, and she's a popular governor there.
Okay, so let's talk about that argument that Donald Trump is picking with Nikki Haley. This is because of her response to the State of the Union. So let's remind viewers what she said that night. Listen to this.
Well, first of all, Ted's very nervous, and
That was Donald Trump. Stand by, please.
You know, when I say it about my other friends that are running for president, they don't throw stones. And so what I would say to Mr. Trump is tempting to follow the siren call of the angriest voices. We must resist that temptation. No one who is willing to work hard, abide by our laws, and love our traditions should ever feel unwelcome in this country.
Okay, so she was saying don't respond to the angriest voices, and Donald Trump knew that that was him. And he didn't like it, but he agreed with it.
He did agree with it last night with Aaron Burnett on this network. And earlier in the day, Governor Haley said, even though I didn't hear it, she said, yes, I was talking about Donald Trump. But she also took issue with Marco Rubio on immigration. She took issue with Jeb Bush on Common Core. What she was clearly defining herself was as her own political player. I heard the Nikki Haley speech in the proverbial soundproof booth for ABC doing commentary, and I heard Nikki Haley talk about the Mother Emanuel attack and the best angels in America being the victims' families coming out in forgiveness and the state coming together. I did not hear that minor part of it, which was, I thought, an appeal for legal immigration. She did not appeal for illegal immigration.
Yeah.
She said explicitly she's against it. So I thought the whole thing was manufactured by none other than Ann Coulter. And I told Ann that yesterday. I thought she's like the arsonist who sees the building burn down and complains about the ash. And I don't think Donald Trump and Nikki Haley have any upside in arguing with each other. They ought to be talking about what brings them together. But Donald Trump knows his campaign better than anybody.
Yep.
He is more skilled at this than anyone.
There you go. Hugh Hewitt, thanks so much for getting up early for us. Great to see you.